जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रील रूप गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रील जीव गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। So thank you once again, dear Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu. Thank you so much for kindly hosting the Upadeshamritam sessions. And I cannot imagine the amount of dedication that is required to constantly host every week dedicatedly on time, especially when there is a small child at home. So I can only pay you my obeisances. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for kindly hosting the session so mercifully. And I am very thankful to everyone. Once again, I'm grateful to each and every one of you who are kindly giving your time. And I hope that these series of talks on Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam will be relevant and helpful to each and every one of you, including those who are listening offline on YouTube. I hope that it will be relevant for you. And we wish to keep it this way, informal, friendly for everyone, and like-minded devotees who wish to attend. They are all welcome to attend these talks. Dear devotees, today we are moving ahead in Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam. Now it gets more exciting from this point onwards, because Srila Rupa Goswami will now be speaking more and more about direct bhakti. And therefore, dear devotees, we have to study Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam, verse number 4, in detail today. And before we study it in detail, I would like to offer a fresh verse to Srila Rupa Goswami. Chitternam kritam yena prema varshairasaplutam tam gaurarnava sampushtam vande rupa ghana ghanam. Chitta irinam. Irina refers to barren soil and chitta refers to heart. So chitta irinam means the barren soil of the heart. Kritam yena prema varshai rasaplutam. Prema varshaihi. By manifesting varshaihi, showers of prema, he inundated rasaplutam, the barren soil, chitterinam, with rasa. So vande rupa ghanaghanam. I pay my humble obeisances to that cloud. In Sanskrit, one of the names of a cloud is ghanaghanam. So I pay my obeisances to that rain cloud named Shri Rupa, who has been well nourished, sampushtam, by the ocean named Gaurarnava. So dear devotees, Sri Rupa Goswami is being compared to a cloud, and that cloud has showers of prema. But this cloud has derived all its nourishment from the vast ocean of prema named Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this cloud is mercifully showering upon the barren soil of my heart, and therefore my obeisances to this wonderful rain cloud of Shri Krishna Prema named Sri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. I sincerely hope that this effort will be somewhere noticed by Srila Rupa Goswami, and that will be the success of the entire effort. Dear devotees, we are moving into the fourth instruction, and it is an instruction which is very relevant to all of us who are staying in the society of devotees. Since we are not practicing our bhajan, our bhakti alone, but we are practicing it in a society of devotees, it is therefore essential that we should have relationships with these devotees. And We ideally want to have relationships that are very sweet, long-lasting. And therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami is giving us some characteristics of sweet, loving relationships. And these are mentioned in the 4th verse. The verse is in front of us. Dadati pratigrahnati kuhyamakhyati prichhati bhunte bhojayate chaiva shadvidham priti lakshanam. Before we move ahead and see the meanings, I'll do what we have been doing for all the verses. The first thing is to understand the meter of the verse. So this verse is also like the previous 2 verses. It is having 8 syllables per line, per quarter. And the meter is Anushtup, which is the standard meter employed in most of Shastra. So this is the meter of the verse. The meanings are given as follows. Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, I will read the Sanskrit. You read the English translation.
Sounds good.
Dadati.
She gives.
Pratigrihnati.
And she receives.
Akhyati.
She discloses.
Kuhyam.
Confidential thoughts.
Prichhati.
And she inquires.
Bhunkte.
She eats food.
Chaiva.
And
Bhojayate.
She serves food.
Shadvidham.
These are 6
Priti lakshanam.
Symptoms of priti, joyous affection.
Wonderful. So one thing you might have noticed, I put everything in feminine case. She gives, she receives, she discloses confidential thoughts, and she inquires. She eats food and she serves food. Because Shadvidham, these are 6 symptoms of priti. The term priti itself is feminine in gender. Priti herself is a lady. So when she manifests, when priti, joyous affection, manifests in somebody's life, what does she do? How does she make her presence felt in somebody's relationship? So priti, what does she do? She gives. She makes us give something. She makes us receive something. She makes us disclose confidential thoughts. She makes us inquire. She makes us eat, and she makes us feed. And therefore, these 6 are caused by priti, who is a lady. And therefore, these 6 are her characteristics. So, priti lakshanam. So, these are directly her characteristics. And these characteristics become manifest in the behavior of a devotee who has priti within himself or herself. This verse originally is not penned by Sri Rupa Goswami. This verse is originally from another literature. So we will see the name of that literature too. But before we see that, we should understand what is the meaning of priti. I have translated priti as joyous affection. In the dictionaries, priti simply means joy. The Amar Kosh says mud priti. Mud means joy. Joy, another name for joy is priti. So one meaning of priti is joy. Another dictionary, Medini Kosh, says that priti is also used in the context of prema, love or affection. So therefore, I have translated priti here as joyous affection. So I have taken one sense from Amar Kosh, one sense of the term from Medini Kosh, and I have given a combined sense here. So joyous affection. Although priti is sometimes translated as affection, sometimes as love, sometimes as joy. So this phrase joyous affection is the combined essence of all of those meanings. So priti here is joyous affection. This verse is originally from the Panca tantram, which is many lessons in wisdom and moral science. So Panchatantram is a Sanskrit composition, and this verse is taken from the Panchatantram. So this is common wisdom. So this verse is taken from a common wisdom source, and it is now being applied in the society of Vaishnavas, because even in the society of Vaishnavas, these 6 are applicable. Now, moving ahead, Srila Prabhupada explains these 6 exchanges of love in one of the lectures. Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, kindly read what Srila Prabhupada says.
Dadati means there must be. One must give something to the other, a friend. Just like I am a friend, you are a friend. I give you something. In return, you give me something. Dadati pratigrinati kuhyam akyati pritchati cha. I open my mind to you. You also inquire confidential things from me. Or I inquire. And then bhunkte bojayate. Whatever you give me, I eat. And I give you, you eat. By these 6 kinds of dealings, priti, love increases. So, in our Krishna consciousness movement, we practice this.
Right. So, very simply, Srila Prabhupada explains that priti or love increases when we practice these 6. Dadati pratigrihnati. Dadati means giving something, some gift. Pratigrihnati, accepting some gift. Guhyam akhyati, revealing one's mind in confidence. Prichhati, then the other person also inquires from us. Bhunkte, then we eat whatever the other devotee serves us. Bhojayate, and we feed the other devotee. Shadvidham priti lakshanam. These are 6 kinds of symptoms of priti. So Srila Prabhupada says in our Krishna consciousness movement, we practice this. As I said, we are staying in a society of devotees. If we were in the forest practicing Nirjan Bhajan, practicing bhakti alone, and nobody would be there with us, then there is no question of dadati, pratigrihnati, guhyam akhyati, prichhati, bhunkte, bhojayate. Then the only person with whom we can do these 6 is the Supreme Lord. But since we are staying in the society of devotees, therefore it is essential that we should learn the art of 6 loving reciprocations as mentioned by Srila Rupa Goswami. Now today's talk will not be directly focused on the 6 reciprocations, any of the 6 reciprocations, but we are getting an introduction to the verse. So some very important topics connected to these 6 will be discussed. First and foremost, we will begin the 4th verse with the commentary of Sri Radharaman Goswami. Now, today his commentary will be discussed, but his commentary is short, but it has some very important Siddhantic conclusion given within it. So we'll have to pay close attention. This is his commentary on the 4th verse. That's it. But in a very short phrase, he has inserted a very deep meaning in one of the phrases, which we will very shortly see. Sri Radharaman Goswami says, Idanim bhakti poshaka sat priteh karya tatastha lakshanam aha tadati iti. Sphutamidam, he says. Now in this 4th verse, beginning with dadati, the karya tatastha lakshan. In English, the approximate translation is effective secondary characteristics of sat priti, affection for sadhus, which nourishes one's bhakti, are described. Now, the meaning of the verse is clear. He says the rest of the meaning is clear, but these are karya tatastha lakshan. These are 6 secondary characteristics. Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, when we say primary characteristics and secondary characteristics, what do we understand by primary and secondary characteristics? Can you please try to say what you know about this?
My understanding is that the primary characteristics are what really define something.
Okay.
For example, the primary characteristic of bhakti is actions and moods directed towards Krishna for his pleasure in a favorable mood. But there might also be other characteristics that are sometimes there and sometimes not, or have some conditions, and those are secondary.
Right. And you're very close, Prabhu. I think you heard the talk on Anyabhilashita Shunyam. That okay, very nice. So we have to define what are primary characteristics and secondary characteristics. Dear devotees, if this is sounding little technical to you, please don't worry. We'll make everything very simple. So first and foremost, we have to understand the term lakshanam. Lakshanam means characteristics. If we want to define an object, if we want to understand an object, we should understand that object by its lakshana. For example, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, how do we distinguish a parrot from other birds? Can you please tell me?
It can speak.
Okay, this is one lakshana, one distinguishing characteristic. Okay, any other lakshana?
I think they usually have more bright colors.
Very nice. So this is another lakshana. Thank you, Prabhu. So what Dhameshwar Prabhu has been giving is lakshana. Lakshana means distinguishing characteristics of any object or any entity are known as lakshana. Dear devotees, when we have to define the distinguishing characteristics of any object or any entity, we define them by giving lakshana, distinguishing characteristics. If I have to define how a parrot looks, I have to specify the color, how the parrot speaks, how the parrot looks. So these are all lakshanas, distinguishing characteristics. Now for any object, the lakshana, the distinguishing characteristics can be of two types. First is svarupa lakshana. This is also known as mukhya lakshana. And these are translated as primary characteristics. And second is known as tatastha lakshana, also known as gauna lakshana. These are known as secondary characteristics. Now I will explain with the help of a simple example what is primary characteristics and what is secondary characteristic. I am getting into all this detail because there is some very important message that he is trying to give here through this. Now, let's say somebody asks me, where is Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu's home? And I say, well, you just go to Laguna Beach and you find the home which has maximum number of birds on the rooftop. That is Dhāmeśvara Prabhu's home. So then he tries to find, and then he finds a home which has maximum number of birds sitting on the rooftop. And lo and behold, it is actually Dhāmeśvara Prabhu's home. So I gave a characteristic, distinguishing characteristic for defining his home, lakshanam. I gave the lakshanam, the characteristic that his home is the one which has maximum number of birds sitting upon it. Now this type of a lakshanam is known as tatastha lakshanam. Secondary distinguishing characteristic. There is a reason for this. Because tomorrow, let's say if it starts raining, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, what will happen to the birds? Will they still be on your roof?
No, they'll go for cover.
Right. So does it mean it will no longer be your home, or will it still be your home?
It will still be my home.
Right. So a secondary characteristic or a tatastha lakshana is a distinguishing characteristic which distinguishes any entity from other entities, but this characteristic may or may not always be present in that entity. For example, here we wanted to distinguish his home from other homes. So I gave a secondary characteristic, find the home with the maximum number of birds sitting upon it. This was a distinguishing characteristic. It distinguishes his home from other homes. But this characteristic is tatastha. It may or may not be always present within his home. So this is known as tatastha lakshana. Now, somebody may ask once again, can you please tell me where is Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu's home? And I may say, well, if you want to find his home, immediately I will give a number, his home number. Go to this home number and this home will be registered in his name. So that is Dhāmeśvara Prabhu's home. Now, Prabhuji, is this characteristic going to change, or is this a permanent intrinsic characteristic?
Yeah, it's permanent intrinsic characteristic.
Yeah. So if this characteristic changes, it will no longer remain his home. So dear devotees, this is known as svarupa lakshana, primary distinguishing characteristic. This characteristic must be compulsorily present in the entity. Otherwise, the entity will no longer remain in its true form. So this is known as svarupa lakshana. Dear devotees, two types of distinguishing characteristics: svarupa lakshana, primary characteristic, which must always be present in the entity which we are defining; secondary characteristics, which may or may not be present. So this is known as svarupa lakshana and tatastha lakshana. Coming back, Sri Radharaman Goswami is saying, these six, dadati, one gives gifts; pratigrinati, one accepts gifts; guhyam akhyati, one speaks in confidence; prichhati, one asks questions; bhunkte bhojayate, one eats, one feeds. He says these are karya tatastha lakshana. These are secondary characteristics. What does this mean? This means that there may be two devotees who may have priti, loving, joyous affection, but may or may not always exhibit these six activities. I hope you are able to understand. For example, I have priti for Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu. Now we are friends. Now Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, I am here in India and you are in Laguna Beach. Can I give you something, dadati? Can I give you something, some physical object from here?
No, you'd have to mail it.
Yeah. So I cannot instantly give you anything. Pratigrinati, can you send me something over Zoom, Prabhu?
Can't send anything physical over Zoom.
No. Guhyam akhyati prichhati. Most of the times we are in an audience, we are in a Zoom call with many people. Can I speak my mind in confidence and inquire confidentially about your personal life on such a public call?
I wouldn't appreciate it.
Right. And last two, bhunkte bhojayate. Can you feed me something, Prabhu?
Definitely not.
So does it mean that priti doesn't exist between us?
No, it doesn't mean priti doesn't exist between us.
So then these six were which type of characteristics? Swarup lakshana or tatastha lakshana?
Tatastha lakshana.
That is,
so the affection might be expressed sometimes and not other times.
Yeah, yes. So that is the crux of what Sri Radharaman Goswami is trying to say. That these are not Swarup lakshana, these are tatastha, secondary characteristics. Now, if these are secondary characteristics, then what is the primary characteristic? What is the Swarup lakshanam of priti? So the Swarup lakshanam or primary characteristic of affection for sadhus is one, that is snigdha chitta. That if my heart is melting in affection on seeing the devotee whom I have priti for, then that snigdha chitta, that melting heart, is the primary characteristic. That favorability, that like-mindedness, that melting heart, these are the primary characteristics of priti. And then these are secondary characteristics. Dadati, pratigrihnati, guhyam akhyati, prichhati, bhunkte bhojete. See, he just mentioned a short term, tatastha lakshanam, but there is such depth hidden in that term. Now we understand that sometimes these six exchanges may not be happening, but doesn't mean that priti doesn't exist between two devotees. But if these six exchanges are happening, then priti increases more and more, dear devotees. So we should try to have these 6 exchanges with devotees as much as possible. And when Dhāmeśvara Prabhu comes to India, I will make sure dadati, pratigrihnati, guhyamakhyati, prichhati, bhunkte, bhojayate, chaiva. So Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, I'll take you to Govinda's. That's a promise. All right. So let's move ahead. Srila Bhaktivinode Thakura explains the verse. He says, Janasanga bhaktir pratikul sutaram tyajya. Janasanga, which we were discussing in the previous verse, is unfavorable to one's bhajan. Sutaram tyajya, and therefore it must be given up. Bhakti parayana vyakti diger pakshe janasanga shodhaka shuddha bhakta sanger prayojan. He says, for those individuals who are bhakti parayan, dedicated to the path of bhakti, it is very much needed to seek out association of shuddha bhakta, pure devotees. And this association can purify them of mundane janasanga. And then he says, bhakti poshaka sadhu sanga rupa priti ai chaturtha shloke nirdishta. Thus in this 4th verse, bhakti nourishing affection in the form of sadhu sanga is explained. So Srila Bhaktivinode Thakura says that the ideal candidate for performing these 6 exchanges is a pure devotee, Shuddha Bhakta. Now he's specifying the ideal candidate. Of course, doesn't mean that we should not have priti with other devotees. We should try to have priti with the devotees in general, and with some devotees, we should have specific priti and we should engage in these 6 exchanges of affection. Now this is Srila Bhaktivinode Thakura. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura introduces the verse saying, Sangha Vishayaka Nidarshanera Janya Priti Rakshana Katita Hayyache. He says symptoms of affection related to sadhu sangha, as mentioned by the direction of scriptures, is specified in the verse. So it's very clear. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura is pointing out that these 6 are not manufactured by Srila Rupa Goswami. He has taken direction from Shastra. And therefore, what we are hearing is from Panca Tantra, which is an existing known Shastra. And therefore, it is a very good guide for us to have these exchanges with the devotees. Now, before we move ahead, we should understand that these 6 exchanges are meant mainly for the society of devotees. The world outside and the friendships outside are of a very different nature. The world outside is defined by Sri Vyasadeva in one of his verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam. One of the verses, Srila Vyasadeva says, Bandhu Gyatyari Madhyastha Mitro Dasina Vidvishah Sarva Eva Hi Sarvesham Bhavanti Kramasho Mithah. He says relationships are very flickering in the world outside. In the material world, which advances like a river that carries away the living entity, all people become bandhu, friends, gyati, relatives, ari, and enemies, and madhyastha, sometimes they become mediators, and mitro dasina, sometimes they become udasina, neutral, and vidvisha, sometimes they despise each other. And they act in many other relationships. Sarva eva hi sarvesham bhavanti kramasho mitha. For all living entities, all these relationships take place, but no one is permanently related in one relationship. This is the nature of the material world, dear devotees. Today, somebody may be a friend. Tomorrow, that person, for some small reason, may become an enemy. We should try to avoid the same phenomenon in the society of devotees. Our relationships with devotees should not end up like the relationships in the material world. Therefore, it is important to understand which devotee we can perform 6 loving exchanges with. Which devotee is a good candidate for becoming a good friend. with whom we can perform 6 loving relationships. So dear devotees, we should first and foremost understand that how do two people become affectionate towards each other, especially in the society of devotees. Let's say me and Dhāmeśvara Prabhu are meeting for the first time. We don't know each other. Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, right now, priti doesn't exist. How will priti begin?
I would guess inquiring about each other, just getting to know each other.
All right. So we both get to know each other. Now, I find nothing interesting about you and you find nothing interesting about me. So the relationship has ended even before it could begin. So we have to find a deeper cause. A deeper cause which will mark a definite beginning of priti. So one more attempt, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu. What causes the initial spark?
Having something in common.
Having something in common. All right. Let's say he is also studying mechanical engineering. I am studying mechanical engineering. Both of us have something in common. Both of us are devotees and both of us are studying the same course. So we have something in common. But simply by having something in common won't make us attracted to a friendship with each other. There has to be a slightly deeper motivation for having priti. This motivation is mentioned in the same text, Panca Tantra. Just after the verse Dadati Pratigrinati, the immediate next verse in Panca Tantra mentions the reason for priti happening between two individuals. The verse says, No pakaram vina priti kathanchit kasyachit bhavet. It says, unless one person causes benefit to another person, priti usually does not occur. A very simple rule. When two people meet, now Dhāmeśvara Prabhu meets me, I meet Dhāmeśvara Prabhu. If both of us feel that this person will be beneficial to me, then that is the first initial spark which causes priti to occur. If there is absolutely no feeling that if I feel this person will not be able to benefit me in any manner, and if he feels this Hari Parshad Das cannot benefit me in any manner, then Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, would you like to have priti in such a relationship?
Well, what about for your children? They don't give you much benefit.
Oh, children give much benefit. Children speak sweet words. Dada, Papa. Oh, that is all. You are benefiting every single day. Agreed or not, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu?
Yeah.
So, slowly and gradually, the children will start speaking stuttering words. And slowly they will express their ideas and their thoughts and dreams. And this is all joyous food for the parents. They are giving a lot to us, parents. So, obviously, that benefit is there. So, Prabhu, unless, and between two strangers, coming back to the point, between two strangers, unless there is some benefit, initial benefit that both of them are going to get, the first spark of priti doesn't occur. So the reason for saying this is, when we meet devotees, and especially when we meet a devotee who is very good-natured, so we should initiate the first spark of giving benefit to them. This is the point that I want to make. Even between Lord Ramachandra, Sri Ramachandra and Sugriva. So Sri Ramachandra was passing through the forest and he had a need. He wanted to find Sita Devi. Sugriva had a need. He wanted to gain his kingdom. So when both of them met for the first time, both of them saw that, oh yes, this person can benefit me. Now this is not selfishness. Every living entity feels the need to be benefited, to progress, to improve. It is natural. So this is not selfishness. So the natural need to benefit by the association of other person is what causes the first spark of priti in the relationship. Dear devotees, this is the point I want to make. So whenever we find a good person, we should immediately try to give them some benefit, because we know we have a lot to gain from that good-natured person. Therefore, we should also try to give something to them, some benefit to them. Now, this usually doesn't happen on social media. Dear devotees, some of us may be having thousands of followers on Facebook, some of us may be having on Instagram. These are in 2023, these are the social media platforms. So some of us may be having thousands of followers, but most of them don't evoke any feeling of priti within our heart. Let me be very honest. On Facebook, they are known as friends. Actually, 99% of them are not friends. They are contacts in your contact book. They should have been called contacts. But because Facebook wanted to make it appear very special to everyone, they don't call it contacts. They call them friends. When somebody sends you a request, it is actually a contact request to just stay in contact with you. But they call it friend request. And the term has been used so cheaply that a contact request, somebody who is just similar to your phone contact book. In your phone, you also have details of people stored. Now, this is a contact list. Similarly, on Facebook also, what we are having is a contact list, but we are mistaking it for a friend list. So, on social media, most people are not friends because they don't evoke the feeling of priti in our heart. And therefore, there is a very good cartoon that this person had 2000 Facebook friends, but we were expecting a bigger turnout on his funeral, dear devotees. So, the point which I want to make is, most people on social media are not friends. And we should not boast that I have 5,000 friends. It is not in anyone's capability except for Krishna to have 5,000 friends. Krishna can have 5,000 or 5 million friends and reciprocate with all of them. But if today all of our Facebook friends start sending us messages, we will pretty soon be overwhelmed and we will shut down our account. So these are not actually friends, these are contacts. So then who is our friend? So a friend is somebody who invokes priti, who invokes sneha, affection within the heart. How do we know? What is the characteristic of sneha? How do we know if we have sneha, affection for a person? So Shastra is so merciful that it boils it down to such small details of practicality, which otherwise we would have to spend many years figuring out. That is the benefit of having Shastra in our lives. So Shastra defines, how do you find a person, towards whom you have sneha? You will immediately recognize such a person. It is specified. Darshane sparshane vapi shravane bhashane piva yatra dravatyantarangam sasneha iti kathyate. Darshane, when I see somebody. Sparshane, or when I touch them. Shravane, bhashane, when I hear or converse with them. Yatra dravati antarangam, if my heart starts melting even a little bit joyously, if my heart becomes excited to do any of these activities, sa sneha iti kathyate, then I am experiencing sneha. So, when the heart melts joyously on seeing, touching, hearing, or conversing with an individual, one is said to be experiencing sneha or affection. Such a person can become our friend, potentially. With such a person, we can think of dadati, pratigrihnati, guhyamakhyati, prichhati, bhungte, bhojayate. Not with 5,000 friends on Facebook. It is not possible to have 6 exchanges of love with 5,000 people. It is possible with someone whom we have sneha towards. And therefore, I say this, when I see Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, I feel joy in my heart. When I see him, it's because there is sneha. Sneha means he is my friend. So therefore, yatra dravati antarangam, when the heart starts melting in joy on seeing some person, sa sneha iti kathyate. Now, if I happen to see my school principal, this will not happen. Or my college principal, this will not happen. Why? Because there is no sneha. So it's very important that before we form friendships with others, we should have sneha for them. Therefore, we should be careful in determining priti. Another characteristic of priti, another characteristic of affection is also mentioned in the same Shastra, Subhashita Ratna Bhandagaram. Pritihi satyam tayoreva yayor yoga viyogayoh vatsara vasariyanti vatsariyanti vasarah. Priti satyam tayoreva, tayor, between two individuals, priti satyam, true priti exists when both of them feel in each other's association that years have reduced to days, vatsara vasariyanti, and in separation, days have turned into years. So, if this feeling is there with any person, so we can all try to think of a person in whose association, even many days will very quickly pass away, and in whose separation, we will feel that, oh, when will I see that person? It's been a long time. So then we have sneha, priti for them, dear devotees. Such a person can become our priti bhajan, our object of our priti. With such a person, we can exhibit priti laksanam, or 6 types of reciprocations. Not with everyone, because our society has millions of Vaishnavas. With everyone, we cannot do the dati pratigrina. We don't even know most of them. So it is only for specific individuals who evoke priti within our heart. Now, therefore, Sri Rupa Goswami says, Vaishnavas, there may be millions of Vaishnavas, but you have to find a specific like-minded group of Vaishnavas and take shelter of those like-minded group of Vaishnavas. Sri Rupa Goswami says, Swayuthan eva samshrayet in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Swayuthan, only in one's like-minded group. Eva, only, exclusively. He says, eva, take shelter exclusively in one's like-minded groups. So this is Sri Rupa Goswami's clear statement. He has also added eva, exclusively, which means don't think of taking shelter elsewhere. Because elsewhere in groups which are not like-minded to us, we will not be able to find happiness and friendship. So therefore, if we want to have good relationships, we should find like-minded devotees. Now, like-minded doesn't mean bootlickers. Okay, because some people mistake that like-minded means yes men. Those who always say yes to whatever whims and fancies I have. Like-minded means they should have the same common aspirations, same habits as us. And all those aspirations, habits should be approved by Shastra, should be devotional habits. So those are like-minded devotees. So I may be very fond of japa. So I find like-minded devotees who are very fond of japa. I may be very fond of book distribution, Brihat Sankirtan. I find somebody who's very interested in that. So some commonality should be there. Swayuthan eva samshray. Take shelter in like-minded groups. Now, before we determine that somebody is a priti bhajan, is an object of our priti, and before we start 6 reciprocations of love, we should take our time. Because if we rush too soon, then it is possible that we may end up making a mistake. This happened historically in the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, there is a pastime mentioned between 2 individuals. One of them is named Dronacharya, another one is named Drupada. Dronacharya and Drupada both were childhood friends studying in the ashram of the sage Bharadwaj. Dronacharya was born a Brahmana, poor, and Drupad was the son of a king, very rich. And both of them were studying in the same Gurukul. Now, when both of them became good friends because they were living in the same conditions, so Drupad ended up making a promise to Dronacharya. He considered Dronacharya a very close friend, and after some years, Drupad made a promise to Dronacharya. So Drupad said that when I become king after my father, you can come to my palace anytime, and you can also take some cows from me. And Dronacharya said, I will always remember you for your kindness. So after a few years, they graduated from the Gurukul. After graduating, one day Dronacharya was in real need of some resources and wealth. So he came to Drupad's kingdom, and Drupad was now the king. And he said, Drupad, I have come, please remember your promise. Please give me some cows and a nice place to stay. So Drupad made the second big mistake of saying that actually, you are foolish to expect help from me. You and me are not equals. And therefore, I'm not going to give you anything. So don't be a beggar, get out of here. So at that point of time, Dronacharya became very angry. Dronacharya, while returning back, he found another kingdom, which was Hastinapur. And Hastinapur, he started teaching the boys. These boys were none other than the 5 Pandavas. And after training the 5 Pandavas, the Pandavas asked Dronacharya, can we give you some Guru Dakshina? Because once the Guru teaches you something, you're supposed to give some token of reciprocation. So Dronacharya said, Guru Dakshina is okay. If you want to give me something, go and capture Drupad in war and bring him to me. So they went and captured, the Pandavas captured Drupad and humiliated Drupad, came in front of Dronacharya. And Dronacharya said, now you are a captive, all of your kingdom is mine. But I am not like you, Drupad. I will give you half of your kingdom back like one gives a beggar. So I give you charity, half of your kingdom back. All right. So then Drupad also faked humility, that you are very noble. I am not surprised by your attitude, very grateful. But in his mind, he wanted to have revenge. So Drupad later conducted a fire sacrifice and produced a son, Dhrishtadyumna. And this son was produced only for the sake of killing Dronacharya. And this Dhrishtadyumna later became the main commander of the Pandava army. And later he slaughtered Dronacharya in the Mahabharat war. So do we want to have such friendships in our Vaishnava society? The answer is a clear no. Therefore, the point that I want to make is, please take your time before accepting somebody as priti bhajan, as somebody who is object of our priti. And don't immediately commit to a relationship or a friendship. And most importantly, don't promise something which you cannot fulfill. These are lessons to be learned from this entire episode. That you cannot perform priti laksanam with everyone. Drupad promised in his childhood, I will give you dadati. Dronacharya says, pratigranati, I will accept from you. So, but later Drupad cannot fulfill. So this has caused a serious rift, which ended in the death of Dronacharya also, and Drupad was also killed in the war. Both of them were killed. So dear devotees, before friendship begins, there is a wise strategy to maintain formality. Before friendship begins, relationship should be formal. After friendship begins, there is no space for formality. Please try to understand. We should not easily commit to a friendship, because we should take our time in determining whether the person is truly sajatiya. But after we have determined, after we know that this person we can invest our priti in, then no formality. then friendship. This is mentioned again in the Subhashit Ratna Bhandagaram. This verse is in the meter Arya. So slightly difficult to sing, but I'll try to sing it. Upacharah kartavyo yavadanutpanna sauhrada purusha yavadanutpanna sauhrada purusha utpanna sauhridam upacharah kaitavam bhavati upacharah kaitavam bhavati. Upacharah kartavyo. Formality should be observed only as long as anutpanna sauhrida purusha. Two individuals have not developed affection for each other. So till the time priti has not developed, formality should be there. But when utpanna sauhridanam, when affection has developed, upachara, if you still act formally, kaitavam bhavati, nothing but pretense. So it is nothing but pretense, it will spoil the relationship. So therefore, a very simple rule, before we make friends, we should behave formally. And after we make friends, we should never behave formally with them. Now, how many friends can we have? Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, if you want to have really close friends, on seeing whom your heart is melting, in whom you can confide, and who won't let out your secrets, how many such friends do you think an individual can possibly have in his or her life?
Just a handful.
Just a handful. Actually, your answer is absolutely correct. How many fingers are there in a handful? So there are 5. So Shastra says 5 friends. So Panchabhihi sah sthatavyam gantavyam panchabhihi sah panchabhihi sah vaktavyam na dukkham panchabhihi sah. Panchabhihi sah sthatavyam. If you are staying in one place, maybe you are visiting a dham, you are visiting some holy place, panchabhihi sah, stay with 5 friends. Why? Because if you have a difference of opinion with one, you always have the remaining 4 to speak to. All right. So stay with 5 friends. Gantavyam panchabhihi saha. If you are traveling somewhere, travel with 5 friends. Panchabhihi saha vaktavyam. If you are giving a talk, if you are giving a class, then there should be at least 5 people. Otherwise, don't call it a class, just call it a discussion. Na dukkham panchabhihi saha. And if 5 people are present, then you will not have any distress. If you have 5 such good friends in life, then you have 5 like-minded people in life, then you have no distress at all. Best example being the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, each one of whom has 5 like-minded individuals in their life. So the personification of this verse are the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. So dear devotees, we should aim to have 5 such friends in our lives. If not 5, at least 4. If not 4, at least 3. If not 3, at least 2. If not 2, at least 1. And if not even 1, then something is wrong with us, dear devotees. So then we can try to perform 6 exchanges. Now, in the society of Vaishnavas, we usually find Vaishnavas in 3 levels. First is those who are more experienced than us, whom some people call seniors. I'm not using the term senior here. It's a very formal term. So informal term is somebody who's more experienced in their bhajan, in their bhakti as compared to us. So we will find such individuals. With such individuals also, we can perform 6 exchanges of love. Let's say there is a sadhu who's very experienced in bhajan, very elderly. Dadati, we can give them some gift. Pratigrinati, the sadhu may also give us something, maybe some sweets. So we accept graciously. Guhyam akhyati, sometimes we speak our heart to the sadhu. Prichhati, the sadhu also asks us, whether we are doing good in our life. Bhunkte, we feed the sadhu. Bhojayate, sometimes the sadhu arranges some prasadam for us. Shadvidam priti laksanam. So this can happen even with those who are more experienced in bhajan than us. Likewise, it can happen with those who are less experienced in bhajan with us. Some people call them juniors, but I don't like that term so much. So those who are less experienced in bhajan as compared to us. So with them also it can happen. So that in that case, we become the elderly sadhu, experienced sadhu, and the other person is a recent sadhu. So same, dadati, pratigrinati, all 6 exchanges. But in these 2 cases, there is always some awe and reverence, some brahma, awe and reverence involved. So therefore, these 6 exchanges do take place, but mixed with some awe and reverence in the relationship. Then comes the third one, with somebody who is equivalent to us in bhajan. So with such a person, we don't need to have awe and reverence. We can have friendship, equality. And with such a person, the 6 exchanges are most tasteful. Dadati, pratigrinati, guhyam, akhyati, prichati, bhunkte, bhojayate, chaiva. So we should aim to have amongst the 5 special people in our lives, some of them should be equivalent. And those will be the ones who are very close. Like Shri Narottam Das Thakur always sings in his song, Ramachandra Sangamange Narottam Das. Ramachandra Sangamage Narottam. Who is Ramachandra Goswami? Very few people heard of him. He's a very close friend. Very close. Close enough to have his name mentioned in most of the songs. So that is somebody who is equivalent to us in our bhajan. Now, once we have established priti, once we are performing 6 reciprocations, we should know that there are some things which we should not do with such a friend. There are some things which Shastra forbids. Otherwise, it will be a very serious break in the relationship. It can cause a break. It can cause a serious strain in the relationship. So what should we avoid in our dealings with devotees, dealings with friends? So if 2 Vaishnavas or 2 Vaishnavis are friends with each other, what should they avoid? So there is a very nice verse. Dear devotees, please note these 3 things, very important in all our friendships and relationships. Ichhe chet vipulam maitrim trini tatra nakarayet vagvadam artha sambandham tatpatni paribhashanam. Ichhe chet vipulam maitrim. If you desire vipula maitri, long-lasting friendship, trini tatra nakarayet. Don't do these 3 things with your friend ever. Dear devotees, please remember. What is the first thing? Vagvadam. Don't try to argue against your friend in public. Don't try to argue against your friend in public. Because in front of many people, if you try to argue against your friend, the friend will think that you are trying to humiliate them. And then you will no longer be friends. Many of us might have seen, it often happens in WhatsApp groups. 2 people who are friends suddenly start arguing in front of the entire group. One of them feels humiliated, and then the next message we see is this person left the group. You might have seen that happen. So you could have argued privately. If at all there was an argument, you could have argued privately. So don't try to argue and humiliate and trivialize a person in public, especially if they are our friends. So Vagvadam. Second is Artha Sambandham. Don't try to enter into a major financial or business contract with a friend. Some give and take of money is okay as long as the amount is small. But if your source of income becomes dependent on the friend, then that can cause a very serious strain in the relationship. Because the friendship then becomes conditional on money. So therefore, Vagvadam Artha Sambandham. Don't try to enter into a major financial contract or major source of livelihood with your friend. And third is Tat Patni Paribhashanam. When that person is not present, don't try to flirt with their spouse. Please, this can be a very serious point of breaking the friendship. So these things we should take care of. If we avoid these 3 things, then 99.9% of the friendships will survive. 99.9% of the friendships break. Priti breaks because one of these three happens. Vagvadam, Artha Sambandham, Tatpatni Paribhashanam. In the case of Pandavas and Kauravas also, the Kauravas did all these three. Vagvadam, they were fighting publicly for kingdom. Artha Sambandham, and they also invited the Pandavas for a gambling match and snatched away all their wealth. And Tat Patni Paribhashanam, the Kauravas had a very evil eye on Draupadi. So all these three were present, and therefore Mahabharata occurred. They could not remain as friends. Even if one of these three is there, it can cause a serious break in the relationship. Please remember these things, dear devotees. If we want to have good friendships, let's not have any of these three. Now, once we have avoided the negatives, we should become a good friend. It's not that just because I have priti for this person should constantly benefit me. I should benefit the other person constantly without expecting much. Give, dear devotees, give to your good friends. Give to your friends. Learn the art of giving more than receiving. That's a bhuridaja. Bhurida means that's a magnanimous person who knows what it is to give much more than what he can receive. That person is called bhurida. So therefore, we should learn the qualities of a good friend. What are the qualities of a good friend? Again, Shastra comes to help us and tell us 6 qualities of a good friend. All right? Papan nivarayati yojayate hitaya guhyam cha guhati gunan prakati karoti apadgatam na cha jahati dadati kale sanmitra lakshanamidam pravadanti santah. First, papan nivarayati. A good friend, saintly souls say that a true friend performs these 6 activities. First, papan nivarayati. If we see our friend is going on an incorrect path, we have priti for that friend. We should immediately rescue that friend from that incorrect path. Not that just because we are friends, I will push him down and I will make him fall down. No, papan nivarayati. Privately, we should help them come out of that. For example, let's say me and Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, now we are good friends. Tomorrow, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu discovers that I have a weakness. I have a problem in my character. What is the problem? Let's say he discovers that I am not able to wake up early in the morning. So Dhāmeśvara Prabhu should privately tell me, Pārṣada Prabhu, try to sleep early so that you can wake up in the morning. Instead, if Dhāmeśvara Prabhu says, well, I'll come over to your home and, we'll have a late night discussion and don't worry about waking up in the morning. Anyways, we should take it easy sometimes. So instead of rescuing me from an incorrect path, he is pushing me further down that incorrect path. So a good friend is somebody who will rescue us from an incorrect path. Second is yojayate hitaya. Friend engages the friend on a beneficial path. Third is guhyam cha guhati. Friend knows how to protect the secrets. We will discuss more about protecting secrets when we are discussing this verse in the next few sessions. Today I am just introducing the verse because there is a lot to be said about friends and how we should be dealing with our friends. So guhyam cha guhati. A good friend should know which secrets we should take to the grave and which things should not be spoken in front of others. And gunan prakati karoti. And we should express publicly, we should glorify the friend. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu is my friend, is wonderful Vaishnava. I say publicly on the Zoom call, let it remain in recording forever. As long as YouTube exists, let it be that Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu is a very good Vaishnava who has many good qualities. And he is very gentle, very well behaved. Publicly glorifying the friend. But no over glorification, because ati stuti nindar lakshan. Over glorification is another form of criticism. So genuine glorification. All right. So then fifth is apad gatam nacha jahati. Don't abandon the friend in times of distress. So if your friend needs you, and if you are truly, it is possible for you to be there and help them, don't give up. At that time, don't start thinking, acha, what did Dhameshwar Prabhu do for me? Maybe 1 year ago he did something. Right now, I don't think it's necessary to help him in this situation. That means I am disappointing him in a situation of distress. So that I should not do. I should not calculate like a businessman. As I said, give more. The characteristic of our friendship should be, I should give much more than what I receive. And sixth is, Dadati Kale. I give what my friend needs at the proper time, not later than that, not earlier than that. At the proper time, when my friend needs some resource in his life, some help in his life, I give my friend that help or that resource. These are the 6 qualities of a good friend, dear devotees. Now, finally, I would like to conclude my speech by quoting a very beautiful verse which defines what good friendship is like, what priti is like. This verse specifies the relationship between 2 entities, 2 friends, milk and water. A very nice verse. I'll sing this verse. This verse is in the meter Shardul Vikriditam. Shirenatmagatoodakaya hi guna datta purate khila Shire tapamavikshya payasa swatma krisharau huta Gantum pavakamunmanastadabhavad drishtva tu mitrapadam yuktam tena jalena shamyati satam maitri punastvidrishi. So, the verse says, Shirena atmagatodakaya hi guna datta pura. When milk first met water, milk gave all its good qualities to the water. So, dear devotees, this is the relationship. As I said, friendship begins when there is somebody who is benefiting from the friendship. So, initial benefit was given by milk to the water. So, milk gave its good qualities to the water, because we know when water mixes in milk, it all becomes like milk. So, this is how the friendship began. Then what happened? Then later, seeing that the milk was boiling, it was experiencing tap. Tap has 2 meanings. Direct meaning of tap is heat. Another meaning is distress in life. So the water first started rising up, started boiling to sacrifice itself in the fire. So the liquidy portion of milk first rises up. Now the milk was also seeing that water is rising to save me, protect me. So milk also started rising up along with the water. And both of them wanted to commit suicide in the fire. And what happened after that? However, the same water was also situated outside the boiling vessel. There was some water outside. And what happened? This water came to the rescue, because as soon as you sprinkle some water, external water, on boiling milk, that milk again cools down. So this water again helped his friend, the milk, who had initially done great favor by giving all of its good qualities to the water. So that water from an external source got sprinkled on the milk, and the milk finally cooled down again. Dear devotees, such is the friendship among sadhus, like milk and water. With this, I would like to pause my speech here. Thank you very much. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit vidvam saha purayantu tat. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit tad guroreva me nahi. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit. If I made any mistake while speaking something, vidvam saha, you are all learned devotees. Purayantu tat. You please correct any mistakes. But yadatra saushthavam kinchit. If you found anything nice, please remember, tad guroreva. It belongs to my Gurujanas, my Diksha Guru, Srimad Radha Govinda Das Goswami Maharaj, my Shiksha Guru, all the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, all the God brothers of Srila Prabhupada, all the Vaishnavas who were present in the past who will be present in the future and who are present right now, including all of you are my Shiksha Gurus. It belongs to you, dear devotees. Me nahi. It doesn't belong to me. So thank you very much once again, dear devotees. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Hari Pārṣada Prabhu, for a really beautiful presentation. Very inspiring and enlightening. Now we're going to go to questions. And like I explain every time, we'll just take one question from each person at a time before we come back for serving seconds. And please try to focus on the contents of the presentation today. So our first question is from Radha Kunjabihari.
Srinath Prabhu, Hari my friend.
Srinath Prabhu.
So beautiful class as always. So while you gave this example of the 6 Goswamis as five friends. So I was thinking, like, why Srila Rupa Goswami put this verse here, highlighting the importance of like-minded friends in Nectar of Instruction. So let me crystallize this. My question is, what is a relationship between friendship and the mercy? Are these friends the manifestation of mercy of Krishna? Because the fact is, if we have ability to know what our friends are talking behind our back, there will be no friends in this world. So this, after this statement, I need to see, how it is important to put this verse there in Nectar of Instruction as a manifestation of mercy of Krishna. Because one true friend is only Krishna.
Right. So we have been told that our one true friend is Krishna. That's a fact. But those who are servants of Krishna, those who are like-minded to us, there may be very few amongst them, very few in the Vaishnava community who never speak ill of us behind our back. There are some individuals, believe me, there are some individuals who are like that, who don't have the habit of speaking against us behind our back, because they truly are snigdha. They are affectionate towards us. And if you find such a person, it may be difficult to find, but if you find such a person, then please keep them always as your near and dear ones. Srila Rupa Goswami, when he wrote Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam, there were not thousands or millions of Vaishnavas in Sri Vrindavan. There were a handful of Vaishnavas in Sri Vrindavan. But even amongst those Vaishnavas, there were many Vaishnavas who had many good relationships with each other. So Srila Rupa Goswami knew and understood that not many will fit the criteria that is being given. But still, one should always try to find. Srila Narottam Das Thakur had thousands and thousands of people who knew him. Yet one person's name, Ramachandra Das, is mentioned in the books. The reason is because amongst millions of people, he found that one person. So similarly, if you can even find that one person, then that one person should be treasured and cherished throughout of one's life. So that is my answer to her. They are actually God sent, God sent. So they are sent by Bhagavan in order to act as good friends to us. So I hope this satisfies you to some degree.
Yeah, this is the first part that I understand, because you see the standard is pretty high among 6 Goswamis. They are almost on the same platform. So there is no room for inferior or, other things. The other aspect of my question is, why
Prabhuji, I'm sorry, we can come back to the second part of your question.
No, I would because let him not lose the thought. We can make an exception for him. Let him.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay, yeah, please.
Go ahead.
Please, yeah.
So the second and most important part of this question was, how the friendship can uplift our, people like us, to experience the mercy of Krishna
Right.
in the form of friend,
Yeah. Right. So a friend allows us to have a comfort zone which is not easily possible with other devotees. In the association of a friend, such a friend, we are in such a comfort zone. We can reveal our vulnerabilities to such a friend, and that friend will keep our secrets. That friend will help us come out of the secrets. And in the presence of such a friend, we can truly be ourselves. We don't have to put a mask in front of such a friend. That sort of a friend who helps, because there are many people who want to become friends with pure devotees. But everybody wants to become friends with pure devotees. But there are some people who accept us for who we are, and they help us in the position that we are, and they don't exactly judge our character, and they help us sustain in those difficult times in bhakti when we are going through anartha nivritti. So for that, such friends are needed. Right? So that is the answer to your query. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have Jai Dwarka Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dana Pranam Prabhuji. Once again, thank you so much Prabhuji for this wonderful class. Actually, I've been waiting for specific classes on this verse because this is very actually important.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, I had a question from that verse, Ichche Chedviplam Maitrim Pranit Vagvadam, in that Vagvadam, Prabhuji, because I was thinking that because many times such situation arises when a major decision has to be taken in a meeting, in a forum, and there is one person who generally do not follow a particular etiquette of speech, and that person is dominating the discussion. And if that discussion is dominated by that person, then it may happen then a major decision is going to come out negatively.
Right.
So in such situation, many times we have to enter into that Vagvadam, and even though we are trying not to offend that person, but that person takes it, or in any way it is going to be like heated. So then what to do in such cases?
Okay, very nice. Now, again, this question is in the context of a meeting. A meeting happens in a spiritual organization. The Upadeshamritam was not written keeping that in mind. So first and foremost, let the situation is not exactly the same. Upadeshamritam, when Rupa Goswami wrote Upadeshamritam, so he did not write it for conference meeting friendships. He wrote it for informal friendships. And as I told you last time, when we become members of an organized religion, there are some negativities which automatically enter. And this is with any organized religion. No, I'm not just pointing to any one institution. Any form of organized religion will need to have these meetings, discussions, and Prabhupada used to say meetings, discussions, and no resolutions, and what he used to say something like that, discussions, convolution, whatever, and no resolutions. And there is a quote like that. So ultimately, people will not agree on some things, and this may cause a strain in the friendship. Therefore, it is important that we should, especially when we are in a setting like this with our friends, sometimes we should know when to let go, like when not to argue. So, because sometimes preserving the friendship is more important than winning some brownie points in a conference. So that is what I would like to say. But it's an inevitable thing because we are practicing bhakti in an organized institution. So the Upadeshamritam was written not exactly from this point of view. So I hope that you understand that some things are unavoidable, but we should know when to let go so that we preserve the friendship, because that friendship is more important to us than gaining a point or two in a conference. So I hope this is clear. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji.
Next we have Raj Parikshit Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
My pranams.
Dandat Pranam Prabhuji. Thank you very much for such a nice class. Prabhuji, I wanted to ask in one of your answer regarding having friendship with Lord, that you told that there are two type of friendship with Lord, Sabramya and Vibramya. So Sugriva is an example of Sabramya, where he knows the greatness of the Lord, and Vibramya is with other sakhas, where they don't know the greatness or Yogmaya covers them. And Vatsalya and Madhurya is not included in 9 processes of devotional service because Sabramya is not possible there. But in Gopi Geet, verse number 4, Nakhalu Gopika, in that verse, there we see they know that Krishna is Lord. Therefore, they are saying Akila Dahinam Antaratmadrik Vikanas Artito Vishwaguptaye. So, how we reconcile this?
All right. The thing is, in Shri Vrindavan Dham, the Madhurya aspect is predominant. Predominant means, although sometimes Aishwarya raises its head, it is very quickly suppressed by Madhurya. So it doesn't mean that Aishwarya or awe and reference becomes zero in Vrindavan. But the relationship is not defined by that Aishwarya. The relationship is primarily defined by Madhurya or sweetness. So that is the answer to your query.
Yes, Fuji. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Means
Next
gopis
we
are also aware about the greatness of the Lord.
Sometimes in between, but that is quickly suppressed by Yogmaya.
Okay, thank you, brother.
Next we have Mohit Deshmukh.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. Thank you for wonderful katha. Prabhuji, how can we understand that the person with whom we are going to do friendship is actually saying the truth and always fulfills his promise? I mean to ask that how can we understand the actual motive of that person? That's the question.
How can we actually understand somebody's motive? The thing is, we don't immediately put trust in a person and trust them with some deep secrets in the first or second meeting. Trust is built over a gradual period of time. Nikasha, there is something called as testing of gold. You don't immediately go to a gold store and then say, oh yeah, this is gold, I want to buy it. The first is you have to get it tested from the goldsmith, and that testing is done by rubbing it against a black stone, which is called the testing stone. Similarly, in your initial journey of friendship, you may trust them with a few small things, and then over a period of time, the trust builds up.
Yes.
So gradual, and therefore I said take your time. That is the recommendation. All right. So don't immediately trust somebody with a very confidential secret, because a friendship has to survive years and years of situations which were difficult, but in which the other person and yourself also turned out to be faithful in the friendship. So some years have to pass and trust has to be built up gradually. So don't immediately try to determine it.
If we don't have such friendship, we should pray to Bhagavan to give such friendship. Right?
Yeah, if we currently don't have, then we should aspire to have 1-2 such good friends in our life. All right. That aspiration should always be there.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Very beautiful class. Thank you. I wanted to ask, this was a very nice class about friendship. One verse was about priti starts by giving benefit. Another verse was about how friends don't abandon each other during emergency. So sometimes in life, due to some circumstance, we might get a feeling that during my difficulty, nobody was there. Means even though I was there for them, but when I am in need, nobody is there. So like, how to process this feeling? Can you like share something? Like how to recover?
It may happen on many occasions that when other people were in need, we helped them. But when we are in need, there are people who cannot understand, that we need help. So such people cannot become our priti bhajan. They cannot become our objects of priti. Therefore, I said the few people can become our priti bhajan, object of priti. In today's world, when people are being taught more and more to become self-centered, this culture has to be developed in the society of Vaishnavas, that friendship is not only about myself. Therefore, I said, give more. A good person is he who gives more. If we are thinking, the first thought is that we are having a what am I going to receive, then you're thinking like a businessman. Give more. I always say this thing, give more. Give much more than what you can receive. Live a life like that. Live a life in which we are giving much more than what we are receiving. That's a good life. Because there are very few people around who are like that. Such people are the world is in great need of such people. So Deepa and Prabhu, you be that person. You be the person who gives much more than what he receives. And alabdheva vinashteva. If you don't get any help, bhakshat chadana sadhane aviklava matir bhutva harimeva dhiya smaret. Don't become distressed at heart. There is always the joyous smaran of Bhagwan Shri Krishna, which destroys all suffering. So our entire bhakti is not just focused upon one friend. Our bhakti is focused upon Shravanam, Kirtanam and Smaranam. Sometimes a friend doesn't come to help us, but that's okay. Our bhajan still continues. The joy is derived mainly from the process of Kirtan, Smaran, etc. So that is my answer to your query.
Next we have Parma Karuna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dhanavad Pranam Prabhuji. Wonderful class once again. So my question is that as a person, if someone is introvert and or not very conscious or able to kind of read between the lines or judge the mood or the situation of the other person and sort of reciprocate in that sense, how to kind of then be let's say there is friendship in the heart or the feeling of, like you said, chitta sneha, or I forget that term, the melting of the heart is there, and the feeling is there, but the inability to express is there because of the nature of being an introvert or not having a very sweet language. Those arts and skills may not be present.
Right.
So that it's hard to convey, and then you may lose friendship because of that, or how to do that.
So it's like, let's say there is a boy who loves a girl. If he's not able to convey, then there is a possibility that, his love may remain unexpressed. Should grab an opportunity and gather some courage and say something. Like Rukmini, she grabbed the opportunity and spoke something. She spoke something. It was difficult to send a letter so far away. And she had to arrange a brahmana, such a young girl, to arrange a messenger all by herself, and to write such nice words, to confide in somebody that I love you. So it's a different thing, right? So we should have that. That courage should be there. Please remember, it's better to have loved and lost rather than never have loved at all. So that's a statement for an introvert. It's better to have loved and lost rather than never have loved at all. And your name is Param Karuna, you're most merciful. So you should live up to your name. Obviously you're living up to your name. I would like to say that Param Karuna Prabhu is indeed very merciful. He has been sending the notes on Upadeshamritam so nicely. So I would really, I'm very much in appreciation of the seva that he does. And I can really say that I have a very good and close friend in Param Karuna Prabhu. See, that's it. It wasn't so difficult. So, like that. So you do with your friends. I am maybe good in speaking publicly because I have trained myself as a teacher. I teach students. So most unfavorable people are sitting in front of me in the classroom. So when I speak in front of a Vaishnava audience, they're all favorable. Like nobody's throwing chalks at me. So it's good. It's a good audience. Right? So therefore, I'm very happy in having very good friends like yourself. I'm very thankful to Bhagwan that I have been blessed with like-minded devotees. So like that, grab the opportunity and speak. So better to have loved and lost rather than never have loved at all. So that is my answer to you. Right?
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Next we have Omkar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Danda Pranam.
I
Thank you for today's class. Prabhuji, what should we do in the case that we develop some strain or tension in our relationship with a devotee? And usually when I retrospect about it, it seems that many a times in the Vaishnava society, we have relationships and they are like good. But many a times what it seems is they are just maintained on the bodily platform, or they do not actually turn out to give what actually they should. So, so 2 points I wanted to ask, that if we have a tension with a relationship with a devotee, and second is when we feel that due to such stress, we are actually not focusing on Krishna Bhajan. We are focusing on something else. And that's a usual thing which we have observed in society.
Okay. So when we have some strain in a relationship with a person, and strain means it has not yet turned into an aparadha or something. It's just a minor strain in the relationship. So there has been no aparadha committed till now. Then what we should do is, we should add that ingredient of a relationship which increases the flavor and which can protect the relationship. Every good relationship is made out of two factors: union, separation. Now is a good time to apply separation, because by separation, the value will immediately increase. After a few months, when your heart says, oh, I miss this person, when that person's heart says, oh, I miss this person, that is when you know that the relationship has been restored. So if you are not feeling, if you are feeling a strain, you should know that because there has been, perhaps this is a case of having too much union with the friend, spending too much time, or over familiarity, or taking each other for granted. So some separation is needed. So this was specified by Srila Rupa Goswami in Ujjwal Nilmani. So he said that every relationship has two aspects. One is the embankment of union, embankment of separation. So Sri Rupa Goswami says, this is his verse. This is actually Bharat Muni's verse. Na vina vipralambhena sambhogah pushtimashnuте kashayite hi vastradau bhuyan rago vivardhate. Na vina vipralambhena, without separation, Sambhoga na pushtim ashnute. Union does not attain nourishment. So then he gives an analogy. Kashayite hi vastradau bhuyan rago. Now you are in the cloth industry. So you know this thing. Earlier, they used to have indigo dyeing. So only when proper modern dyes are applied to a cloth does the color on the cloth become extremely brilliant. So in order to fix the rag has two meanings, affection and color. In order to fix the rag, you have to apply the kashay. Kashay is that mordant dye of separation. So you can see two clothes. One cloth is the one on which the dye was applied. So it has come out very nice in color. Another one was the one on which the dye was not applied. It was directly colored. So most of the color got washed off. So therefore, the mordant dye of separation is needed to bring out the radiant color of any relationship. That is the answer to your query. That some separation is needed when there is a strain. But if it has turned into some aparadh, then you should rectify it. So as Dhāmeśvara Prabhu said, right now absence makes the heart grow fonder. Yes, very nice. So that is what it is. Right? That is the answer.
Thank you.
All right. Dhāmeśvara Prabhu? Yeah. Please continue. Please ask Sandeep Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Pranam. Saying thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu. Prabhu, I'm asking that being sometimes being introvert is because of the anartha is in the heart. Because of the, some people are introvert. That I take my case. Sometimes I feel that in front of a devotee who is a very good sadhak, and when I go in front of them, and sometimes I evaluate myself that I am not doing good sadhana, so I could not speak much in front of them. So being it will be because of being introvert or being because what then it may be.
Yeah, that is because not only are we an introvert, but also because we have not developed the confidence to speak our mind. So sometimes we need to confidently speak our mind, especially when we know that the other person is trustworthy. So we should try it once or twice, especially with a trustworthy person. And we should try speaking some confidential things which are not very extremely confidential, some confidential things. See if we can trust that person with some little confidential things. And then if that person gains our trust, then we can speak further confidential things and more confidential things. So, but we must come out of our box of shyness and try to speak from time to time, because we are speaking in alone. We don't have to speak in front of a big audience. We have to speak individually. At least individually, we should be able to express our thoughts. So that is what I would like to say. That is my answer to your question.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
My pranams.
Hi, Krishna.
My pranams. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhuji, thank you for your wonderful class, Prabhuji. Even I was looking I was looking for this class, like Jadwarka Prabhu also mentioned, because this is a very practical class for all of us. Because more often than not, we are dealing with devotees all the time. Prabhuji, so my question is, sometimes what happens is, I can tell about myself, like during the course of my journey of bhakti. So I see like as the years pass by, I keep on losing some friends who I considered very close or dear. So Prabhuji, there is this feeling that probably there's something lacking in me, or I don't know what, but it makes me I don't know how to say, but yeah, very morose at the same time. So what should be done, Prabhu? Is it like, how do we deal with this, Prabhu?
Maybe we can ask them why they chose to distance themselves. And if there was something in our character that they chose to distance themselves. And we can take their honest feedback and see if that is true in our character. And if that is true in our character, if there is some lacking in our character, then we can try to improve ourselves so that our future relationships won't be stained by the same fault. So sometimes some individuals leave because they find something negative within us. So we can ask them as to why they distance themselves. And if it is possible to ask them, then, and if they honestly tell us, then it will help us in a very nice way. And of course, if they are also not willing to help us, then we will have to depend on self-introspection. So that is my answer to your query.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have a follow-up question also, but we can take it.
Yeah, second sir. All right, who's next?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for the previous answer. I got muted. So just related to your answer to Omkar Prabhu's question, and also one verse you showed about that in separation, genuine relationship, they feel that separation. So again, due to certain experiences, and then I was trying to study the Shastra. So I had the understanding that in the material world, such relationships don't exist. Means with the time it gets over or something. Or like one proverb also is there, out of sight, out of mind. But from today's presentation, it means I just wanted to understand like this long kind of relationship, it is possible here also. It's not just in the spiritual world. I wanted to ask. Long
kind of relationship, mean long lasting relationship, you're saying?
Yes, means it doesn't end.
Yeah, there are many long lasting friendships in the material world also. But the Upadeshamritam is directed for an audience of Vaishnavas who want to have a relationship here and who also want to, continue being in the association of their friends in the spiritual world. So the Upadeshamritam is meant for such an audience. In the material world also, some of these principles are valid, that you can have long-lasting, Vipulam Maitrim, long-lasting friendship. And we can see in the world outside, there are some people who have long-lasting friendships. People sometimes say, he's my friend since 50 years. So we can see people have long-lasting friendships. So it is possible in the material world also. And obviously, the Upadeshamritam is not meant for that. Upadeshamritam is meant to give instruction to those who are devotees. So definitely such friendships are possible in the society of sadhakas also. But we have to learn the art. Because I have told this in my answer to Jai Dwarka Prabhu's question. It's an informal book, Upadeshamritam. And we are studying it in a very formal situation. And we are also surrounded by, we are in a situation where we are members of an organized religion. Sometimes our friendships get affected by all the formalities, and we should learn when not to put formalities in our friendship. I'll try to put this point again in future lectures, that what does it mean to be a friend, and what are the 6 exchanges. And even though we may be members of an organized religion, still it doesn't mean that we have to sacrifice the friendship on the altar of organized religion. So I'll bring this up again in future sessions. Thank you. Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, I'm not able to hear you. Are you muted?
Sorry. Next we have Abhimanyu Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandvat Pranam. Prabhuji, my question was that especially regarding to revealing one's own heart. So we see that sometimes we may become vulnerable to some devotee, we may share something in confidence. And then there is a tendency in some people that they exploit it in maybe by sharing it with others, even though we have not we were not saying them to share it with anyone else, or maybe by remembering it and telling us that, or somehow by they exploit that thing. So that devotee may become afraid of sharing it with others. So is there any thing that we can do for understanding that to what kind of person we can reveal our heart, rather than checking it by revealing our some parts? But is there something like this type of person is fit so that we can share it?
The thing is that if a person, and now this is going to come up in great detail in the session where we discuss Guhyam Akhyati Prichati. So I'm going to cover this in the future session where we are revealing something to somebody. Let's say somebody leaks our secrets to somebody else. And then there is a technical term for such a person. Now I'll also be introducing that technical term in the future session. What is such a person? What does Shastra call such a person? And we will also see that such people, actually they are not trustworthy. So how do we find out people who are trustworthy? Actually, frankly speaking, in order to get good friends, one should have some sukriti. One should have some piety from previous life in order to have good friends. Not everybody may have that variety of piety. So therefore, sometimes it becomes impossible to check. But those who are blessed with good friends, they know that, they know what it feels like to have such friends. But I'll come to it slowly and gradually. You may have to wait for a session or two. I don't want to give all the answers in today's session. So I hope that's okay with you. All right.
Okay, next we have Omkar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dronacharya.
Okay.
Prabhuji, in the point in the society we find three levels of Vaishnavas. You mentioned one category with more experience than us. So, would we include our Guru Janas, specifically Diksha Guru or Shiksha Guru, in this category? And
Yes.
how would the dynamics change with that?
Yes, because a guru is also a friend. A guru is also supposed to be one's friend. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Omkar Prabhu Adama Janar.
Bandhu,
What does Bandhu mean?
a dear friend, like a brother,
Right.
to be more specific.
So that answers your query that a guru is also supposed to be a friend for the disciple in certain ways. He is the most well-wishing friend of the disciple. But as I said, the relationship has a degree of sambhrama, awe and reverence involved in it. But still 6 exchanges can take place.
But there'll be a little change of dynamics, and the person should know how to deal with different relationships in different way.
He won't keep his hand on the guru's shoulder. He won't give his remnants to the guru. He won't, he will, no, but 6 exchanges he will carry out. Dadati, he will give gifts. Pratigranati, he will receive from the guru. Guhyamakyati, he will speak to the guru. Prichati, guru will also inquire about him. Bhunkte, he will eat something which the guru has given. Kojayate, he will give some prasadam to the guru also. Can you do these 6 things with a guru?
Yes, Prabhu.
So that's all. That is simple.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
And next we have Bhavya Bhagavan Prabhu.
Yeah, so Prabhuji, continuing my question. So Prabhuji, what happens is when we come to spirituality, on this path of spirituality, so in my case, I left many of my old school friends, college mates, And then when we see this happening in the spiritual society also, that the friends are like, you're not keeping friends with many people who you thought were your friends. So then it becomes a little disappointing, Prabhu. So how do we deal with that? And it becomes even harder to trust people when you go, when like it's time to make new friends, Prabhu.
So let me understand. It is disappointing that you don't have your former friends, and the new friends are also not up to the mark of the former friends. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
So obviously, those friends who were former friends, they were friends from a non-devotional background. They are okay with degrading us in the material world also. So those friends may be okay with us getting degraded with them in the material world. So therefore, those friends are okay with doing anything which is enjoyable to the senses. That is what appeals more to all conditioned living entities. But in devotional circles, the friendship has a more mature meaning. Therefore, very few such friends can be found. And therefore, a devotional friendship is supposed to be one in which two friends know that a friend knows the weaknesses of the other person, but still knows that although this person is weak right now, he will very soon become a pure devotee. Doesn't expose the weakness, doesn't degrade the friend, tries to uplift the friend, and is always snigdha, always favorable. Now, there may be very few such people. As I said, if you find 5, you are a very lucky person. But still, you should try to find such people. And if you compare them with your former friends, the comparison is not valid because the former friends were okay with even degrading you in the material world. So that comparison is not exactly accurate. So that is what I would like to say. Try to find and never give up hope in trying to find such a friend. And if you are not able to find such a friend also, still to the degree that you are able to do the 6 loving exchanges, you should try to do with devotees who are like-minded. So still not all hope is not lost. So that is my answer to your query.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Next, I have a question actually.
Yes, Prabhu.
One time, many years back, I heard something about the distinction between a bandhu, a maitri, and a suhrit. It was something like, I think a bandhu is your friend just when you're in the same venture, like you go to the same school, but as soon as you graduate, you guys don't keep in contact. And something like that. Have you heard anything like that, Prabhuji?
I've heard that, and somebody asked me some months ago. I tried to look it up, but in the traditional dictionaries, most of these are synonyms. So maybe some Vaishnav or some poet has given some esoteric explanation in some text about this. But this explanation cannot be traced back to the original dictionaries because the original dictionaries list them as synonyms. So that is my answer to the query.
Thank you. Next we have Ananga Mohan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thanks a lot for such a wonderful presentation again. Prabhuji, in the case of equal relationship in the friendship, it is just as we heard in the presentation that informality should be there if friendship is now deep. So, but we are Vaishnava also. So sometimes it is seen that informality creeps in, and because of that, Vaishnava behavior is also not seen sometimes in these relationships. So how can we, what is the benchmark which we can have in such relationship where informality is also there, as well as that deep great affection should be still there?
Are you saying formality or informality?
Informality is there, but in many cases, it is seen that when informality is there, then Vaishnava behavior is not there in such relationship.
Right. So in many cases, informality means, people forget that they are a Vaishnava. And as I said, there are 6 good characteristics of a friend. One of which is a friend elevates the other friend. The second characteristic. So yojayate hitaya. So informality is there not at the expense of degrading the other friend. So informality is there. So that requires a very subtle type of intelligence to understand, which not many people have. Now, we may be in association of devotees who are very new in bhakti. So forget about expecting these things from them. These things you can expect from a person who has understood and studied the entire art of friendships. You can't expect them from new people. New people, you have to teach them that this is what should be done. Therefore, if it's difficult to find people who are on that level of maturity in spiritual circles, especially. In the material world, there are friends who are informal, but they degrade you in the material world, as I said. And that starts happening in the spiritual circles also. They become informal, but they start degrading the level of Vaishnavism that they're supposed to be in. So therefore, such individuals need some guidance and training. We are their friend also. It's not that they have to do everything. We also should try to elevate them. If they behave in ways that are degrading to our Vaishnavism, we should very politely, very nicely, we should tell them that, well, let's not do this. Let's do something else. And gradually they will understand. All right. So we also should play our part in uplifting the relationship, not just expecting them to do the uplifting all the time. And sometimes we may have to do 70% of the effort. So that's a part of being a member of a sangha or a society. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Maybe we can start wrapping up.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can, if there are very quick questions, then we can do them now. Or if there are some detailed questions, then we can keep them for asking in the group. So, Abhimanyu Prabhu, do you have a quick question or an elaborate question?
Quick question, too.
Is that Abhimanyu Prabhu? Yeah. Both are unmuted.
Yes.
Yeah.
My question was. My question was, Prabhuji, that in that slide you said that it should be with the devotee should only take shelter of a group which is Sahridaya or like-minded. So why it is said that only that group, like with other devotees who may not be that much friendly, or we can say not much like-minded. So how should we deal with those devotees? And why it is said that only Sahridaya devotees should we do all these exchanges?
Because on the path of bhakti, you don't want to live a life in which you are constantly in disagreement with many groups. So an ideal life is that in which you were with individuals who understood the Shastra and who had the same mood as you. And that is the best type of relationship suggested by Srila Rupa Goswami. Otherwise, if I try to become friends with all the groups, then I will run into many contradictions with them. Let me give a small example of this. There are certain devotees who say that my focus in my bhajan is upon my kirtan and my swadhyaya self-study and my kirtan, my swadhyaya, my self-study, and as well as my focus is on doing my japa. Now there are some other groups where the focus is only japa. So I can't really align with an exclusive japa only group. I have to. I need a group in which there will be some reading of Shastra, some understanding of some doing of kirtan, speaking of Harikatha. So if I try to forcibly gel with other groups, I will not be able to get along. Rupa Goswami says, don't try. when you clearly know that the aspirations are not similar. You can have good relationships with them, but priti and 6 exchanges you may not want to have with everyone. So that is what Sri Rupa Goswami's suggestion is. I hope that is okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you. Dipayan Prabhu, do you have a quick question or an elaborate
Quick
one?
question.
Yeah.
Quick question. Prabhuji, the svarupa lakshana and tatastha lakshana explanation. So in anyabhilashitam shunyam shloka, does that also mean that the anyabhilashita shunyam gyan karmadi anavritam, sometimes it is not there? That could you explain?
Yeah, the secondary characteristics may sometimes not be present. Anyabhilashita shunyam may sometimes not be present. For example, Gajendra wanted to save himself. Dhruv wanted the kingdom of his great-grandfathers. So all the anyabhilashas were there. But since it is a secondary condition, Bhagwan overlooked it and Bhagwan gave them a darshan and accepted their bhakti as pure. But the main condition, Swarup Lakshan, was there. They were all anukul towards Bhagwan. They were all favorable towards Bhagwan.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. One more question. Can I post in the group?
Yeah, you can post in the group. All right.
Or,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Button. Hold on a second. Okay. I'll ask everyone to unmute and give a bit.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Prabhuji. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
there we go.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam.
Thank you very
Jai
much.
Hari Pārṣada
Hare
Prabhu
Krishna.
ki
Thank
jai.
you.
Thank you.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Srila
Ananta
Prabhupada
Koti
ki jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
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 All right.
What about Ranga Devi?
Jai.
Yeah. Devi.
Jai.
Jai.
Devi ki jai.
Jai Ho, Jai Ho. Hari Pārṣada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All right. Hare Krishna, everyone. Take care.
Hare